Good morning, fellow Hamptonians. We are so excited to bring you the 2022 Biennial Conference. This is an opportunity for us to connect as alum, to celebrate our history and our legacy. Today, we'll be featuring our new president, which is very exciting, his first address to us as alum. So to start, let's get a prayer from our chaplain, Diamond Gannett. Hey,
Good morning, Hamptonians. I'm so excited to be here. Before we go on with our schedule today, we're just going to take some time to center ourselves and pray and set the tone for this auspicious occasion. Let us pray. Lord, we thank you first for this day, God. Lord, before we ask you for anything, God, we just want to say thank you for everything that you're doing in the life of Hampton University. Lord, we thank you today that we are passing the baton. We thank you that for our immediate past president, Gina Pemberton. We thank you, God, for our new president, Willie Williams. And then, Lord, we thank you even that you are giving us an opportunity today to hear from our new Hampton University president, Daryl K. Williams. Lord, we ask that you would be with us, bless us during this time. God, we thank you for that is the standard of excellence known as Hampton University. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you so much, Diamond. And I forgot to introduce who I am. My name is Victoria Cotter. I am class of 2010. I've had the opportunity to serve as your co-chair for this biennial, along with Tasha Hudson, who I am grateful for on her partnership for this project. So next, I'm going to throw it over to our immediate past president, Gina Pemberton, to give remarks. Please bring on Gina.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Hamptonians, wherever you might be. So excited to be here and welcome you to this year's biennial. This is really exciting, an opportunity for us to hear from our fellow Hamptonians, our new leadership, both in NHAA as well as the university. And even more excitingly, this is when we are going to install our new NHAA leadership. So I'm really happy to be here. This is likely the last time you'll hear me speak as your immediate past president in this forum, and I couldn't be happier for what we've been able to accomplish over the last 4 years. I came into office with the mantra of Future Forward, and within Future Forward, the whole goal and the mission of our board was to move things forward and to keep the momentum going as we continue to drive NHAA forward. And we did that through a number of different goals that we had set in the beginning of the tenure. And one of those goals was around increasing alumni giving and participation through different targeted campaigns and focused methods. So we've done that over the course of these 4 years. We've had alumni giving increase over each year that we've been here. We've been partnering very closely with the Office of Alumni Affairs in order to make that happen. I know later today you're going to hear from one of the alumni giving co-chairs, and he'll give you a little bit more information on the things that we've done and probably some more about what they're going to be doing going forward. We also launched our Student Emergency Fund, which is a fund that was built in order to provide monies to students that have the grades, have the ability, want to go to school, but just don't have enough money to be able to pay their bills. And we were really passionate about making sure that we were able to give something back to the students from us, the alumni. And so we have done a number of different events to raise money for that Student Emergency Fund. And if you remember, we were really excited because we were planning a gala in New York City in May called Legacy Blue. We had a great event. It went fantastically. I couldn't thank the committee more if I tried. The exciting news is we're able to announce how much money we're going to be able to, or that we're sending over to the university to put into our Student Emergency Fund. We're sending over $70,000 back to the university, mainly from your donations, ticket sales, but also from the sponsorships that we have gotten from different corporate sponsors. And Tyel will probably talk you through more about the details of that. But I couldn't be prouder that we're able to make that difference and increase alumni giving in that way, with the help of our board, the committee, and my fellow alumni. Our other goal was around increasing the lines of communication to all alumni. So we did that as well by updating all of our social media sites. We've made a large impact as far as getting connected to people, and that's due to the work of our corresponding secretary, who you just heard from, Victoria Cotter. So thank you to her for helping to drive those different ways to communicate over the course of the last 4 years. And I've also was very specific and dedicated to making sure that we increased our transparency amongst what happens within the NHAA out to all of the alumni. And so all of that has helped to drive some more connection, communication over the course of the past 4 years. And lastly, there was a goal that I had around providing some sort of mentor program for our students and giving alumni an opportunity to be able to give back to the student body. And what we've done with that is that we launched the NHAA C-Suite series, which I'd like to really thank a young alum, Van, who came up with the idea and really spearheaded this. And so we've been hosting C-Suite, SEA, for our Home by the Sea suite panels for the last year and a half. And we've been able to provide some guidance to students and alumni as it relates to different industries and backgrounds that people are working in. And if you haven't seen any, they're on our NHAA channel here on YouTube, and you can go back in time and you can see all of the different ones that we've done related to entertainment, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, information technology, and the sciences. And today we'll have another C-Suite that'll be part of this biennial that is around talent acquisition and HR services. So really excited to see that going. So, all in all, I am so proud to have served as your NHAA president for the last 4 years. I couldn't be more grateful to the board that served under me during this tenure. I thank you all so much for your service. I thank all of the alumni for all of your support, and I pray that you'll continue to provide that support to the next administration as they continue to move us forward. Thank you so much. Hampton hugs.
It was so incredibly beautiful to be able to hear from our president. And one of the things I valued most about being a part of the board is the true connections we've been able to make. So, selfishly and personally, I thank Gina for her mentorship, her friendship, and for being such an incredible leader to our organization. So, next up, in keeping with great leadership, we are going to hear from our new president, Mr. Willie Williams, who I've had the pleasure of working with since graduating from Hampton in 2010. So, Willie, thank you for joining us this morning.
Okay. Thank you and good morning to President Williams, faculty and staff, and most importantly, my fellow Hampton University alumni. I am honored and humbled to be installed as your next alumni president. I pledge my untiring effort to ensure the success of our association and the university. I begin by thanking our immediate past NHAA alumni president, Ms. Gina Pemberton, for her leadership and dedication in moving our association's future forward. Gina, I look forward to working with you in your new role. Alumni, these are exciting times for our Alumni Association. For the first time in 44 years, we begin and welcome a new university president who is also an alumnus. But first, on behalf of the association, I thank President Harvey for his years of service to our alma mater. In 1978, he was the right person at the right time to move our university to new heights, and his accomplishments have been nothing short of spectacular. But now, as we look towards the future, we have a new university president. President Darrell K. Williams, who likewise is the right person at this right time to move our university forward into the 23rd century. President Williams is an accomplished man with a love for Hampton University, its students, its faculty, and its alumni. We look forward to working with him as he leads our alma mater to the next level. Looking to the future, during the campaign, I laid out 3 areas that I wanted to focus on: alumni giving, including participation rates, chapter engagement and giving, and young alumni engagement and development. These focus areas are in line with our core purpose as an alumni association, which is to 1, raise monies for the university, 2, recruit the best students for the university, and 3, work cooperatively with the university to develop and implement programs that will benefit Hampton and the National Hampton Alumni Association. So with those focus areas and our purpose as in mind, today I ask all alumni to recommit to helping to take our Alumni Association and university to the next level, because we are stronger working together. I ask you to share my vision to increase our alumni participation rates from the low 30s to 50%, and our overall alumni giving amounts 3-fold in the upcoming year. Yes, in the upcoming year. To address our participation rates over the next 90 days, I am asking alumni to make a donation of at least $18.68 to Hampton and annotate on your social media platforms hashtag 1868 I give to HU. Not I gave to HU, I give to HU this year and every year. To address our goal to increase alumni giving 3-fold, I have spoken with President Darrell K. Williams and the Assistant Vice President for Development of Alumni Affairs, Ms. Brent Martin, about a concerted team effort to engage with alumni that are in positions of influence to increase our alumni giving in that area. I've spoken with our alumni giving team on the board, and a plan has been developed. You can expect to hear more from this area in the future. I ask you to work with us in the area of alumni giving, because we are stronger working together. I ask you to share my vision of increasing the number of chapters and alumni participation in those chapters across the association. Our active alumni chapters across the country are conducting innovative activities to increase participation and fundraising. I ask that you seek out a chapter near you and get in where you fit in. At the very least, pay your local chapter dues and choose one activity that you will participate in the upcoming year. We have many cities which were once vibrant chapters, once had vibrant chapters, that are now dormant. My commitment is that my vice presidents and I will be engaging in those areas to recruit alumni to bring those chapters back and to expand in new areas. I ask you to work with us on chapter engagement and development, because we are stronger working together. I ask you to share my vision that the future of this association lies in the engagement and development of our young alumni. My commitment to you is that I'll work with chapters to help develop activities that address young alumni interests, such as local chapter dues waivers for a period of time, mentorship opportunities, and assistance with job perspectives, and finally, social networking mixers. In fact, the hashtag 1868 I Give to HU campaign is designed with our young alumni in mind. Young alumni, I ask you to fully embrace this campaign and contribute the equivalent of one happy hour to support our alma mater. I have two daughters that are young alumni, and I know fully that they have happy hours, and I'm asking them and you to, over the next 90 days, give us one of those happy hours in the form of a $18.68 donation to Hampton, or more if your situation allows. I understand your challenges, but I ask you to work with us in this area because we are stronger working together. Finally, my fellow alumni, this vision for the next 2 years embraces our core purpose as an alumni association to raise money for Hampton, recruit the best students for Hampton, and work with the administration at Hampton to the benefit of both organizations. I'm excited about our future, and I ask you to share that excitement and let it manifest in more engagement and alumni giving to our university. We have excelled in the past, but we are at a crossroad to the future. Personally, Hampton University has contributed to all of us enjoying the levels of success we have currently achieved. It's time to show our support for our university and become involved in our alumni association at the local, regional, and national level. I welcome your input and pledge my entire support to take our alumni association to the next level, remembering that we are stronger working together. Thank you so much. I look forward to working with you, and we will turn it back over to Victoria Carter, and I'll come back and introduce our president. Thank you.
I told you I was so incredibly excited about this year's leadership. Willie set the tone for what is going to be an awesome tenure. So let's meet his board. I'll ask our technology team to queue up our installation of officers.
Hello, my fellow Hamptonians. It is now my function, as it is my privilege and pleasure, to install the new officers of the National Hampton Alumni Association, Incorporated. The secretary will read the names of the newly elected officers, and each officer will join when it is their turn to be installed.
Thank you, Gina. So for chaplain, we have Diamond Gant. Treasurer, we have Wayne G. Green. We have corresponding secretary as Raquel Watson. Recording secretary, Siani Jacobello, myself. Vice President, Eastern Region, Kelly D. Boyer. Vice President, Western Region, Catherine Land. First Vice President, April M. Broadway. And President, Willie Williams, Jr. Thank you so much.
My fellow members, you have been duly elected by your peers to fill the various offices of this organization, the National Hampton Alumni Association, Incorporated. While this is a great honor, it is also a tremendous responsibility. You must always be mindful that the success and growth of any organization rests largely with its leadership. It is expected that you will familiarize yourselves with the duties of your office and that you will perform these duties in a businesslike and timely manner. This you must do in order so that the National Hampton Alumni Association, Incorporated, may render its greatest possible service to its members and to our alma mater. I now charge you individually and collectively to the high calling of your office. Willie Williams, Jr., you have been elected to lead the National Hampton Alumni Association for the next 2 years. The entire organization will be measured and judged by the manner in which you conduct its affairs. You are the single most important representative of this organization. You have the power commensurate with your office. You are admonished not to exercise that power in an arbitrary or dictatorial manner, but setting aside all personal agendas to work with zeal for the good of the organization, thus ensuring that growth and peace and harmony may prevail. Be reminded that the president who is fair and just and who exhibits its strength and vision will gain respect and support, even from those who do not agree with him or her. The president has a duty to those who follow him to hand down the office with its dignity, its rights, its privileges, and responsibilities unchanged. I will now administer the oath of office. Please repeat after me. I, Willie Williams Jr.,
I, Willie Williams Jr.,
do solemnly promise
do solemnly promise
that I will serve
that I will serve
the National Hampton Alumni Association, Incorporated,
the National Hampton Alumni Association, Incorporated,
as president
as president
for the next 2 years,
for the next 2 years,
and I will perform all duties
and I will perform all duties
appertaining to that office
appertaining to that office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you. To the vice presidents, Kelly Boyer, Catherine Land, and April Broadway. As vice presidents, to each of you is given the co-responsibility with the president. You will stand ready to support the office of the president and to assume the duties of the same should you be requested to do so in the order of your positions. You will be ever mindful of the charges to the president and accept them as your own. You will further prepare yourselves to fulfill your individual duties as specified in the bylaws of the National Hampton Alumni Association, Incorporated. Please repeat after me. I, your name,
I, April Broadway,
do solemnly promise
do solemnly promise
that I will serve the National Hampton Alumni Association, Incorporated,
will serve the National Hampton Alumni Association, Incorporated,
as vice president
as vice president
for the next 2 years,
for the next 2 years,
and I will perform all duties
and I will perform all duties
appertaining to that office
appertaining to that office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Raquel Watson, Corresponding Secretary. The Secretary's duties are substantially of a business nature and are of the highest importance to the welfare of this organization. You are charged with the task of being present at all meetings and of keeping a complete and accurate record of all proceedings proper to be written that occur. Your records are the official history of the organization. Yours is a position of accountability. I will now administer the oath of office. Repeat after me. I, Raquel Watson,
I, Raquel Watson,
do solemnly promise
do solemnly promise
that I will serve the National Hampton Alumni Association, Incorporated,
that I will serve the National Hampton Alumni Association, Incorporated,
as Corresponding Secretary
as Corresponding Secretary
for the next 2 years,
for the next 2 years,
and I will perform all duties
and I will perform all duties
appertaining to that office
appertaining to that office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Awesome. Thank you. To the recordings. Oh, wait, are you ready? I just started. Okay. To the recording secretary, Siani Cabello. The secretary's duties are substantially of a business nature and are of the highest importance to the welfare of this organization. You are charged with the task of being present at all meetings and of keeping a complete and accurate record of all proceedings proper to be written that occur. Your records are the official history of the organization. Yours is a position of accountability. I will now administer the oath of office. Please repeat after me. I, Siani Cabello,
I, Siani Cabello,
do solemnly promise
do solemnly promise
that I will serve the National Hampton Alumni Association, Incorporated,
that I will serve the National Hampton Alumni Association, Incorporated,
as secretary
as secretary
for the next 2 years,
for the next 2 years,
and I will perform all duties
and I will perform all duties
appertaining to that office
appertaining to that office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
To the Treasurer, Wayne Green. Yours is a grave responsibility. You are charged with the record keeping and the handling of all financial matters that come before this body. You have been entrusted with a most vital factor in the life and development of the organization. Sensitivity and accuracy are essential to the office. I will now administer the oath of office. Repeat after me. I, Wayne Green,
I, Wayne Green,
do solemnly promise
do solemnly promise
that I will serve the National Hampton Alumni Association, Incorporated,
that I will serve the National Hampton Alumni Association, Incorporated,
as treasurer
as treasurer
for the next 2 years,
for the next 2 years,
and I will perform all duties
and I will perform all duties
appertaining to that office
pertaining to that office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thanks, Wayne. You're all done.
Hello, Hamptonians. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our 13th president of Hampton University, President Darrell K. Williams. He three-star general and has worked in the highest levels of our military, culminating as director of the Defense Logistics Agency. He worked as a vice president at Leidos, serving as the principal lead for logistics in the United Kingdom. Today, I am proud to introduce my classmate and our next president. Please join me in applause from your location for Lieutenant General Retired Darrell K. Williams, President of Hampton University.
So thank you so much, new Mr. President, Willie Williams. And I just want to start by thanking Gina Pemberton and her entire administration. And so for taking on the huge task of being the National Hampton Alumni Association president for not one, but 2 terms over a 4-year period. I think we owe her a round of applause as well. Please, Hamptonians, give Gina and her team a round of applause. Thank you. Really, really awesome. So Willie left out one thing in my introduction about being the 13th president. He left out the word friend. And so I think what all of you should know is the existing relationship that President of the National Alumni Association, Willie Williams, and I have, going all the way back to our freshman year in 1979 and coming through our beloved Hampton ROTC program together as both friends and comrades for Hampton University. And so with that said, I can't tell you how proud I am to be the 13th president. And I hope that as a starter, all of you saw the video that I released to all of our alumni. And in that video, what I talked about was the phenomenal reach, range of our alumni, the importance of our alumni association, and the fact that this university can't be its best without your support. And so one of the very first things that I did when I got installed as president is to start working on the video to say thank you to you and to ask you for your continued support of our university. I would like to couch the remainder of my comments today in a comment that I received from the oldest Hampton alumni. I won't use her name because I didn't get her permission, but I will tell you what she said. And so I called her after 4 or 5 days in office to get her thoughts and to get her advice about being the new president for Hampton University. Because of course, she's seen so many. She's seen them all come and go. She's 102 years young. She's completely sharp, as you would expect a Hamptonian to be. And she was here as a student from 1936 until 1942. And since that time has been engaged with the university. And so she said two things that I wanted to relay to you. One, she said, quote, "I loved my experience at Hampton and all of the experiences it afforded me in my life." And then as to what she gave to me as advice as the new president, she said two things, quote, "Love Hampton and the students who go there." Love Hampton and the students who go there. And so I can't think of two greater pieces of advice for both myself as the president of the university and certainly you as the Alumni Association. With that said, I wanted to talk to you just a minute about what I've been doing since I arrived on the 1st of July. And so I've been on what I call my listening tour. Listening is not just passive listening because I've also had to make some decisions, but I've made it my business to come in as the president to listen to what students, parents, and especially alumni have been telling me about our great university and where we should be headed in the future. And so I have attended several events. Even before becoming president on the 22nd of May, our alumni and some others hosted a wonderful fundraising event in the Washington, D.C. area. And that money will be donated to scholarships at Hampton University. Then I was lucky enough, and I want to give a shout out to our great Alumni Association down in Hotlanta, Georgia. They invited me down on the 17th and 18th of June to be a part of their reception on Friday night and a wonderful, beautiful gala on that Saturday night. A very energized and excited Alumni Association and base down in Atlanta, Georgia. I've also been able to, as I indicated, put out the alumni video, and I continue to engage alumni any and everywhere that I can, and this is certainly a part of that, and I will continue to do so. So everywhere I go, they also ask, so what is the vision for the university? And what are some of the priorities? I'm not ashamed to say that I want to use the alumni network as much as I possibly can to help to forward that vision. But as you might imagine, just being 15 to 20 days into the job, yes, we have a vision, but what I'm going to engage the faculty, staff, students, and alumni is helping us to develop the strategy to reach that vision. But in its simplest form, it is to provide an unprecedented student experience at Hampton University. It's really just that simple. Now, the words may change a little bit as I engage further with the staff and faculty, but the focus will remain exactly the same. An unprecedented student experience at Hampton University. Some other things I've been doing since I've been here is a great emphasis on immediately beginning to upgrade our technology at the university. And both our students, faculty, and staff will realize some of that before the start of school. We're taking a look at something else that'll be near and dear to your heart, and that's the COVID policy at the university. And we have engaged all stakeholders in that conversation. And we'll be updating that policy here within the next week and a half or so. We're taking a look at the student handbook. And so some of the great feedback that I've gotten from our current students and those that have recently graduated is that that's something else that we need to take a hard look at. I'm focused on the arrival of students in late August. We want them to feel the energy at Hampton University when they arrive in late August. And then the last thing is, I think all of you know that our first football game for the season will be against the other HU, Howard University, on the 3rd of September. And they will be coming into the Pirates' Den. And we want them to leave the same way they did last year when we went to Howard with Hampton University on top. And so some will also ask, so how can we help? And then this will be the last part that I'll talk about. How can the alumni help? And so right now, I need your continued support. I need you to spread the news about what our vision is, providing an unprecedented experience for the students at Hampton University. Next, I would ask you to start to encourage, as you already do, but even more so, encourage your own children and those of your friends and others to attend our home by the sea. We want to increase the enrollment at Hampton University. And so next year, we would like to bring in a larger freshman class than usual. And I need your alumni support to achieve that and for you to get them here. I need you to come out in force at the Howard football game on the 3rd of September, and certainly Tuskegee the following week. The next thing I'll say is I think all of you know that we have now joined the Colonial Athletic Conference, and we're moving out of the Big South. And so some of our games obviously have changed given the institutions that we'll be playing against. So we'll be playing William and Mary here at home. We're going to play University of Richmond for homecoming. We have a game against Delaware State at Delaware State. I need alumni to embrace this new conference and to show up and show out at all of our sporting events, not just football, as we enter this new conference so that they know that the Hampton Pirates have arrived. And so with that said, Mr. Alumni President, I just want to say thank you for giving me a few minutes to engage the Alumni Association. And at this time, if you have a few minutes, I'll entertain a few questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. However, one point during my graduation, President Obama said the last time Howard won, the Fugees were still together. So I don't think that game on September 3rd will be a problem. And I am excited to see all of our fellow alum together communing and cheering on those Pirates. So Kai, our tech team is going to field a couple questions for us. And then we will move on with today's programming. It seems that there's no questions on the chat. If anybody has a couple questions, throw them in there very quickly. If not, I will thank President Williams for his time and we'll move it right along.
No, I was saying, in the absence of any questions, I'll just make a few concluding comments. Again, very, very honored and proud to be the 13th president for Hampton University. I do, again, want to congratulate Gina and her team, and we want to welcome President of the Alumni Association, Willie Williams, and the phenomenal job that I know he's going to do. And I say that with knowledge of who he is, his dedication to Hampton over the years, his extraordinary capability as both a person and a professional. And I know he's going to take our Alumni Association to new heights. I want to thank him as well for coming to the university just last week. And he, myself, and our Alumni Affairs Director, Brent Martin, had a collective meeting. And that's the signal that we want to send to our Alumni Association and to all of our alumni, that the president, the National Alumni Association president, and Alumni Affairs will be connected. We will be united. And you all can take it for granted that my relationship with the president of the Alumni Association is strong. And whatever he's saying to you, he and I have probably already discussed. And so in that regard, I think we're going to have a phenomenal couple of years. And I want to thank you all in advance for your support. That's all I have. And again, President. Well, Mr. President, Alumni Association, it's your show. I'm happy to stay, and if you'd like to entertain a couple, I will. But if yeah, yeah, it's a great question. And look, I think we all know that our marching band, first of all, is absolutely phenomenal, and they are among the greatest ambassadors, I think, for Hampton University. Wherever they go, they perform in just such an outstanding manner. So about 2 weeks ago, right after I came on board, I did have a great conversation with our band director. And my understanding right now that we are about 170 to 180 strong. Yes, he has my support in trying to increase the size and scope of our band. Yes, I do plan to support their travel. Hopefully, even greater exposure surrounding the expertise and excellence of our band will have other members join. I will tell you that for both our band and our chorus, the COVID time period was especially tough. You know, they weren't able to get together as much or and as often as we would like to have. So I think in both our band and our chorus that we will highly support. There's some additional rebuilding to be done. While I don't have any specifics today, you can be sure that I will fully support both our band and our chorus. Thank you. We'll certainly put that on the agenda, and I'm going to ask the President Willie Williams to, if he could collect some of the recommendations from the people that are assembled and elsewise. These are the kinds of issues that he will be able to surface with me, and through him, we'll try and address some of the concerns and just likes of the Alumni Association. But thank you. I used to love those too. Yeah. So I'll repeat the question. I think the question that was asked was, how do we stack up against other like-sized universities with respect to donor rates? And so I'm glad you asked that question, because it's something that President Willie Williams and I have had a very long discussion about, and in fact have already started developing a plan to address. But right now, I would say among HBCUs, we stack up fairly well. We look at other peer institutions of our size. Quite frankly, our giving rate is quite low. Um, I won't give you the specific number because I don't know if it's for release at this point. But our plan over this year is to triple the size of what our donor rate was from last year. I'll leave it to President Willie Williams to discuss that in more detail. I think as I have talked to alumni almost everywhere I've gone, I've probably had with individual alumni or groups, and this, I'm not exaggerating, probably 100 to 150 separate engagements since the announcement and upon my arrival. And the general sense that I get is that the alumni are ready to give, and they're ready to give at a much higher rate. But they've asked me for 3 or 4 things, which I plan to deliver. One, they've asked for, what is the vision? We want to know what we are giving for. Number two, they're asking for transparency. I like greater transparency around what the funds that I am giving are really going for. And so my promise to you is that I will definitely make our giving much more transparent. Number three, they want to receive that thank you note or thank you letter when they do give. Number four, They want to be recognized for something more than just fundraising. They want to be an integral part of what's happening at the university. And number 5, they just want a thank you and a recognition for the impact that they are having at the university. So in all of those areas, I will reinvigorate or invigorate further the university's commitment to the alumni. So again, the reason I'm on today is, one, I love our Hamptonians, but more especially, I want to demonstrate with you starting today that President Willie Williams and I are completely aligned. We are on speed dial, if you will, with one another. He has complete access to me, and so whatever you relate to him, I will do my very, very best to work on. But that's to directly answer your question. I think we're low on our alumni giving. I think we need to dramatically increase. We think we'll do that by the end of this year. Thank you. Yeah, I'll just conclude again. President Willie Williams mentioned something about a gong show. And so I'll go ahead and conclude here by merely saying thank you. And it's a pleasure to be with you today. I look forward to seeing you all at the Howard game, the Tuskegee game. We travel to Norfolk State the week after that for homecoming. I look forward to seeing you all. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you again, President Williams. Y'all, I don't know about you, but I am so extremely excited for the future of our university. I'm excited to see our Pirates win this year. Let's see in the chat, give me some excitement about how you loved interacting with our president. Throw your class years in there. Let me know where you're calling in from. Awesome, awesome. I see all that love rolling in. We really appreciate you guys being here to share the day with us. So moving on to the next segment of today's presentation, Gina spoke about one of the pillars of her tenure being a focus on mentorship and really driving the next generation forward and feeding into them as they take on their journey toward a career. So important part of landing that job is hearing from what human resources and talent acquisition is really looking for. So next, I'd like to throw it to our panel of amazing alums who will be talking about talent acquisition and HR. Also, before we go there, I want to thank alum Van Crawford for all the work he's put in over the last year and a half and taking on the C-Suite project. So with that, let's see the video.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I'm very excited to kick off tonight our career guidance discussion with some amazing panelists discussing human resources and talent acquisition. And so we'll be talking a bit about professional development within the career space. And so we're joined today by Darissa Pitts-Page, the Director of Talent Management at HRSD, Ms. Jennifer Sutton, Head of Diversity, Equity, and Belonging, a Senior Director at Instacart, and Ms. Thais Battle, Senior HR Business Partner at Google. So what I'll do is I'll pass it back to you all to give us the beautiful introduction, since you all know yourselves best. If you wouldn't mind sharing with us your title and affiliation with your company, if I messed that up, or if you would like to share a bit more about that. And then your major while at Hampton, and if you'd like to share whenever you graduated. And I'll go in alphabetical order and start with you, Darissa.
Good evening. My name is Darissa Pitts-Page, and I am the Director of Talent Management for HRSD, which is Hampton Roads Sanitation District. We treat wastewater for South Hampton Roads. My major while at Hampton was Mass Media Arts with a concentration in broadcast journalism. I'm class of 98, quintessence 3.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'll pass it to you, Ms. Jennifer Sutton.
And you actually got my title perfect. So no updates there. I go by, most people call me Jen Sutton. I am class of 2002, Onyx 5. And I've been, just such a pleasure to be honored to be here with you all and on the panel today.
Thank you. And last but not least, Ms. Thais Battle.
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here with you all as well. I am class of 1999, Onyx 4, and I am, you got my title right as well, a senior HR business partner at Google, and I'm just glad to be here with you all today.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. I'll kickstart our discussion and then continue with our cadence of alphabetical order. And glad to see we have some Onyx family here, Onyx 4, 5, and 10 present. Glad to see all of us here, though. We'll start with maybe an intro to each of you in this talent acquisition space. This question comes from some of the questions posed to alumni via social media, and then also one of the general questions that we were excited to hear from you all. But what drew you to HR and talent acquisition, especially with your professional and educational backgrounds? And I will pass it to you, Darissa, if you'd like to start, but also if anyone else would like to go, feel free to jump in.
Sure. This is Darissa. So I am a people person, and like I said, my major was mass media arts, so it has nothing to do with HR. However, I was in this program called recruiting assistant when I first got out of college, when I worked for Beneficial Credit Services, and I helped with heavy recruitment, information sessions, getting people set up for testing, proctoring those tests. And so I was like, I think I kind of like this HR stuff. So I went back to school, got my master's in human resources management, got a couple of HR certifications, and just the ability to be able to change people's lives and be hands-on with employees and, develop them and reach back and help them to grow is just something that I'm really passionate about. And I love being in human resources. And in my new role, which I was recently promoted to Director of Talent Management December 25th. So I actually oversee not just human resources, but also training and development as well as safety, which is not something that I had a lot of experience in. But I mean, all of it is people oriented, and that's what I'm about.
Absolutely. Looks like it is a perfect fit. And what about you, Miss Sutton?
Thank you. And congratulations, Teresa, on that promotion. I actually fell into HR. I don't really have a clean story. I was a finance major at Hampton. So I absolutely love numbers, and that's always been the case. And after graduation, I was in the analyst program at Merrill Lynch and was basically in a relationship management sales function at Merrill Lynch Investment Managers. And after we were acquired by BlackRock, I had an itch to do something different. And at the time, I had a pretty close relationship with the head of campus recruiting at Merrill. And we were just thinking about my career and where I could go. And she basically said to me, well, Jen, have you ever thought about recruiting? And long story short, I said, no. I was a business major. I was a numbers person. That's not something I actually thought was in my career trajectory. But long story short, she said, let's have a conversation and I'll connect you with, at the time, it was someone leading a relatively revamped function at Merrill, running diversity recruitment on the investment banking and sales and trading side of the house. And so that's how I fell into HR. And then my career has just evolved. I've said yes to a lot of opportunities. Some of them I raised my hand, some of them someone has pulled me and said, hey, I think this would be great for you. And that's pretty much has led me into the leader that I am today in the diversity space.
Thank you. How cool.
Thank you.
And I'll go now and talk just a little bit about me. I think my story is sort of a mix of both of yours. What I didn't mention in my intro is that I was also a mass media broadcast journalist major. I wanted to be a broadcaster. I wanted to sit behind the desk and be an anchor. It's when I realized that that is not how the career starts in that industry. And then started taking some of my classes, I realized that it wasn't a passion of mine. What I did over one summer, my sophomore year, the summer between my sophomore and junior year, I had a chance internship. It was with then AOL Time Warner at 30 Rock in their corporate HR department. I say it was chance because just somebody my mom knew, they were looking for interns. And I had a great opportunity working there to do some really meaningful HR work because I wound up filling in for someone who was out on maternity leave at the time, even as an intern. So I got to do some really interesting things. So I got to work working with the interns and kind of planning some of the work that was happening there. I got to do some industry surveys and that type of thing, and really started getting interested in HR. So when I went back to Hampton, in my mind, I thought I wanted to change my major to be a business major so that I could kind of take some business classes and think about going onto the corporate world. And to do that meant that I would have delayed my graduation. So instead, I pivoted my major within mass media to public relations, which gave me an opportunity to take more of the business related courses. And that's how I started in HR. I worked a few years in talent acquisition, hiring, diversity, and then I pivoted and also received a master's in HR management, and have not looked back in the HR world since.
Wow, thank you for sharing. What a beautiful vision and future I'm looking at. I also had a journalism major there and am now a recruiter in talent acquisition. So it's great to hear each of your stories. And we'll keep it interesting today and go back and forth with our questions as far as career guidance and professional journey questions, and then take it back and hear from you all about your Hampton University experience to help provide some insight for those emerging professionals who might be graduating soon or might still be at Hampton right now. So great to hear how you all kind of really made your own path. And I think I say make your own path, but that's how life works. Our path is made each step we go. So you all had different backgrounds while at Hampton. What experience would you say helped to prepare you for your career today? You can mention any organizations on campus in the community or professional or educational things that you did to really help you stand out in the leader and professional you are.
So I think what helped me is my ability to be able to network and really just branch out, meet a lot of different people who are different than me, and really build relationships. That is what definitely helped me to get some of the positions that I've gotten. Definitely allyship helped me get my most recent position. But just, networking, getting to know people, and being able to leverage those relationships so it can help you, but also help them as well.
Thank you.
Great. And from my end, I would say I learned a lot in class, and I don't want to discount all of the studying and the hard work that we did in class, but the most important attributes that I was able to fine tune and to develop at Hampton was leadership capabilities. And so while I was there, I was a student leader. I actually founded the American Red Cross Club on campus. I was a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, member of the investment club. That's not only helped me professionally when I was in financial services, but also personally. But the organizations and the ability to do project management, delegate, to Doris's point, network, work with people who are not like you, because that is all that you interact with every day. And in the work that I'm fortunate enough to lead, a big portion of my job is influencing. It's like, how can I really get them to see my vision? And how can I get them to move a certain way and to change a behavior, change systemic behaviors? And so I think a big portion of my success, I will definitely relate back to my experiences on campus outside of the classroom, because a lot of the technical capabilities I think are important, but what I call the how in the work that we do is actually even more important, because if someone doesn't want to take your call, or they are just like appalled by you for whatever reason, it's hard for you to be able to influence and drive change. And so I'm very thankful for all of the opportunities, both inside the classroom, but selfishly, I really did appreciate all the things that I was able to do outside the classroom.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, I agree so much with what you're saying, Jennifer. The leadership, I was reserved as a young lady, pretty shy. And so coming to Hampton actually gave me the opportunity to just come out of that shell and take some risks, right? So, being a member of the Honors College, for instance, having the opportunity to speak in front of thousands of people, where I may not have had those opportunities before. I was also am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and became a member while I was at Hampton, and just working collaboratively, not only in benefit of the campus, but in benefit of the community and service. And a lot of what we do in our jobs is helping other people when it matters most for them, as an HR leader. And those things I learned there. And I will say, just fundamentally, anytime I'm mentoring students, especially on a college campus, I tell them to take full advantage of what's offered to them at their career services department. I was constantly at career services, and just the help figuring out how to approach an interview, how to write my resume, even though things have changed exponentially since I was there. Some of those fundamental things I still carry with me, and I'm also able to mentor others around making sure to take advantage of that.
Thank you. A question for present day in your roles as executives with extensive backgrounds in talent acquisition or human resources. As a leader in your company, how do you all set the tone? And you remember at Hampton, it was all about standing out, or at least learning how to do so, and whatever is being true to you. What is it that you all do in your roles now to set the tone as a leader in your organizations?
So I walk the walk and talk the talk. Like, I know where they've been because, yes, I recently promoted to this position, but I've worked the jobs that they've had. So, and I am fully capable of being able to join there with them. Also, I am their biggest supporter and cheerleader. And so I make sure that, I uplift my staff at all times. I will always have their back outside of our department. But then if it's something that needs to be addressed, I do that in private. But I also give them a lot of autonomy. I let them just do their thing. And I think they appreciate that. I'm my authentic self. I'm always going to stay real. A lot of the senior leadership, they've been there in that position for a while. They came from privilege. So they have a completely different perspective than what I have. And, I think that definitely brings a fresh voice to senior leadership. And, I feel like they rely on, me to give them that, unique perspective as well. But it's just all about, giving your people the power to do their jobs to the best of their ability, as well as giving them the tools and resources to be able to do those jobs.
Thank you for sharing and shaking the table. Thank you.
And I just really have to plus one and add on to what Jerisa mentioned. I think it's spot on how I view the work at Instacart. We have core values like many of our organizations. And so just being able to illustrate and walk the talk per se has been very helpful. One of the things in the work that I've been able to stand up is I said, we need to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, because in the work that we're leading, and whether it's today or tomorrow or 10 years ago or 20 years from now, the conversation around diversity, equity, and belonging will continue to evolve. And for some, it'll feel natural and they're willing to dive in, and others, they're going to cringe because their fragility will show up. Their uneasiness with difficult conversations, and quite honestly, just scared to get it wrong, will show up some way, shape, or form. And so I try my best to demonstrate what we call our values. And one of them is putting it all on the table. And it's right up my alley, because if anyone knows me, that's just who I am. I'm a straight shooter. So I just try my best to really embody what our values are as a company, and kind of name the things that I think are unintended impacts to our culture, and not shy away from those conversations, even though I know for a fact they're going to be difficult and probably come back to bite me in one way or another. But if I don't name it, who will? And so that's how I've shown up as a leader, and people have been able to gravitate towards that type of interaction.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jennifer, you hit the nail on the head with the values thing, because for me, the tone starts with a company's values and a company's culture, because it dictates a lot of what we will do and the decisions we will make. And so it makes my job a little bit easier to be able to point to those values and just bring those through. But as a leader, another way that I set the tone is challenging the status quo, because things evolve, decisions that evolve, things that we, said a couple of years ago are no longer relevant sometimes. And you have to be willing to be that voice in the room who's going to challenge the status quo, who's going to push leaders into uncomfortable spaces. I work a lot with leaders who maybe aren't comfortable being uncomfortable, and or comfortable in some of the HR spaces, from some of the things, my experience and things that I've seen. And that's really how you set the tone. Change the trajectory of what we're doing if it doesn't work anymore.
Absolutely. And you brought up one wonderful piece, I think is a whole sermon about how culture and values really drive how professionals, employees, how we'll engage and really complete our roles and tasks at hand. Any insight that you can share with the young professionals, or anyone who's looking to, what is it that they should be looking at when they're trying to find their company best match? So what should they be looking for as far as values or cultures, or finding out what aligns with them?
Yeah. And you just said it. It's not like one culture or one set of values is better than the others. It's what I embody as a person. And I need to be looking for, when I'm looking for a company, what are my values? I need to know what they are. And I need to make sure that what the company values really line up with that, for the most part. And so some of it is self-discovery. What is it that you actually value? If you are at a certain place in your life, maybe you value money. Maybe you're at a different place in your life and you value more balance, more family. There are so many, different ways to address it. And then from a cultural perspective, sometimes you don't really see the full extent of what a culture is until you're there. So I always encourage folks to make sure you're getting the cues, not only from what you see online, but talking to people who may work there or may have worked there, or using your network efficiently and effectively to learn about a company culture.
Thank you. I will start with, we'll go back to some of our social media questions that our Hamptonians asked. And it's coming to today and our real life, our real new life, pre-COVID, or in the middle of a pandemic, however we'd like to call it. But how do you all see the future of work from home? Will it continue? Will it return? What are your thoughts around how corporations, and I know that depends on the culture, it depends on the company, but what are your personal preference and where do you see this shift going? And feel free if anyone would like to begin with the answer.
I can jump in. I'm happy to jump in here. I think that Some companies will go back to the office for a majority of the time. And even though they may have a more flexible remote policy, they still will probably want you in the office. I think we have a bias as a society to touch and feel and see people every day, even though we've proven for the past 2 or 3 years that can happen. I think that there will be other companies that will take a risk and truly embody what, at least what we're calling at Instacart, flex first, which is we actually could care less as long as it's within a country that we're operating in. You can work wherever you want to work. You actually do not have to come to the office at all, and it won't derail your career. There won't be this underlying, yes, you have to come in, even though we're telling you really don't have to come in type of tone. We're truly trying to embrace what that means. Now, in fairness, this is new for us. So we're still going through the growing pains of what that actually looks like. But I think that's really key. Like, I'm based in Houston now. I was based in New York. I now live in Houston, and I'm fully remote. And that is totally embraced by our leadership. And we have some of our most senior leaders that are in San Francisco or in a major city, but we have others like myself who are not. So I think there will be some that will have this hybrid, but still will expect people to come into the office some portion of the time. But I do think there will be other companies who will embrace concepts like 4-day work weeks or abbreviated schedules, or people being actually 100% remote versus that. So I think it's going to be an evolving topic. I'm eager to see where it goes, but that's my thoughts as a betting woman.
Another question from I'm calling them emerging professionals, our emerging senior directors and senior managers like you all. They're wondering, what are some things to stand out in an interview? What insight would you share as far as what they can do to make themselves known after the interview and they're conducting others? How do they remember the Hamptonian they met with?
I can start here, and you all feel free to jump in. I do think there is still a place where you can stand out, and I think it has to do. It always works for me in terms of connection, right? I think you have to figure out what are the connection points with your interviewers, with your company. And one of the things that I advise people to do is to know your stories, and people love stories, right? So that's how you can be remembered, right? You shared a story as an example that was impactful, that was real. It's more that's more conversational versus I'm studying and I'm rehearsing my answers and speaking in this kind of rote way. Stories are memorable. And so if you can create a story that connects with your interviewer, I think bar none, you'll be remembered. And I still go with old fashioned. I still say reach out after the interview. Make sure you are communicating and showing your interest.
Thank you.
Love it. I'll add on to that and just add that I would encourage everyone to know the competencies for that role. And so being able to understand the job description, ask the right questions so you know what competencies are needed, so that when you are being assessed or evaluated, you're able to articulate your answers based off of what you already know that is needed in that particular role. So if they're looking for someone with executive presence, all of your answers should scream, like literally say the exact same words back at that person, right? Here's how I was able to demonstrate executive presence. Here's all the different ways that executive presence shows up. Know the competencies and be able to easily show and use the same language that they are using and correlating to how you've been able to demonstrate those particular attributes in your current role. And even if you haven't even had that experience, still being able to show how you would bring it to life. Because I do think transferable skill sets can plug and play into multiple competencies. And the other item that I would recommend is framing your answers around how you can make that particular interviewer's life easier. Everyone wants to hire new talent where they say, I can easily see that they can come in and with little on-ramping be able to really take this goal, this objective, this strategy to the next level. So just always have in mind, people are looking for someone that can easily just come in. Now, I'm not a big fan of needing to do everything day one, but being able to show that you have the hunger and the drive and the aspirations to succeed, I think people are eager to do that in addition to everything that Tice just already mentioned.
Thank you. Another question for, this is from social media, and so this is for young, seasoned, and more seasoned, salary negotiation. What tips or what do you have to share about it?
Yeah. Well, the number one rule is do negotiate. And I say that, somewhat with a laugh, but honestly, many people don't know how to, so they don't. Um, I always advise generally when we're talking about looking at specific roles, not to be the first person to talk about money. Let them be the first people to bring up money, because then you're starting from a good place of negotiation. And I see a lot of people um, have in mind what they'd like to make, and they shoot themselves in the foot because the job may have been able to pay them more than that. So I would start with the upper hand as much as possible, and then just like anything else, making sure you've done your research. What does this industry generally pay? What does this particular role and level generally pay, so that you have a reasonable expectation? Those are things to start with. And maybe Jennifer, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I will. The only thing I want to add, and this might be somewhat controversial, but I want to say it. Our community, we don't talk about money amongst ourselves, and I think that we should. And so you should surround yourself with people where you feel like you can actually ask. When I've done my negotiations, I've gone to others and said, hey, they came to me with this. I'm thinking that, or the job was posted. Am I on track? Especially if you get into roles where equity is a big topic. I mean, I don't know about you, but that wasn't a topic that I was trained on at Hampton or my family. No one sat around the table saying, hey, this is what equity looks like if you're at a pre-IPO company versus a public company. No one walked me through those different things. I've had to leverage my network, and more importantly, my Hamptonian network, to have those conversations. So we are afraid to talk about money. And I don't know why that is. I have no issues talking about the money where I think people are, and people look for jobs, and what should I make? I'm like, here's what the market should be paying you. And if they lowball you, then I think you should name that and ask for the world. So I encourage us to get out of the uncomfortable stance of, I don't want to talk about money because we'll share with this person, that person. Other demographics do this all the time, and they don't blink around talking about their equity, their investments, real estate, their salary. That's how they keep staying on top. And we are so protected at times, I think in certain circles, we're afraid to have those vulnerable conversations. So the only thing that I would add to is just don't forget that you're surrounded by people, or at least probably by 1 degree of separation. You can be connected with someone that can give you some of the insights that you may not find. And by the way, there's a ton of companies now or sites now that will post what different bands look like, especially in the tech industry. And so just following up on those different areas. But I'm promoting them because some of them are not so great, but there are ways where you can also find out, because people have started to talk about, their salaries more fluidly than they have in the past.
I just want to add to that really quickly, because really great insight around talking about money. But you hit on something else that I think is huge, in particular in our communities, which is level. And there are a lot of times that, unfortunately, we may be hired at levels that are lower than our experience dictates. Now, of course, if you're coming straight out of school, little bit of a different scenario. But that also, I would also encourage people to talk to their networks about that. Coming into a company, understanding what their structure is, understanding, well, what level are you at, and where do you think I might fit within this picture? And then you're educated on what the levels look like in an organization. And a lot of times when you're educated, then you can ask for what you really deserve.
Thank you. That's a great point. A lot of people will jump to, if you may not have this background information, jump to the money portion or other pieces, not thinking about there's other ways that they could actually come in equally and fairly. Because you all have this talent acquisition experience, this question is around leveling. What is it that you would look for in the future, or best practices you've seen for talent acquisition professionals to really drive fairness and inclusion when it comes to leveling or bringing in employees?
I don't work in talent acquisition at this point. However, I think it kind of comes from within the organization. You know, thinking about our inclusion strategies, that has to be part of a company's inclusion strategies, where we're looking at who we're hiring and how we're hiring them. And if it's wrong, we have to be able to acknowledge that and even take a step back and fix it. And I have seen that happen at some of the companies I've worked for, where we realize that systemically we've brought in a certain group of people, perhaps at a lower level than their counterparts from another group. And I've seen them corrected. So, and then moving forward, then we've learned that lesson, and we can leverage those lessons moving forward.
Yeah. I use somewhat of a kind of an old school approach to what's being asked here. And so we anchor to the iceberg model when we think about systemic change at Instacart, and we did the exact same thing. And I also was at Google with my fellow chapter soror there a few years ago. And it's been so important to help to articulate the importance of the iceberg model. If you're not familiar, definitely Google it. It's an academic approach to systemic change. And the foundation or the bottom of the iceberg is, what is the belief system or the mental model in that company? And if the belief system, for example, is, oh, if you're switching industries, you have to be down leveled, then you're always going to have this churn, right? Or if your belief system is you have to work, and again, I'm in tech, so I'm going to use tech language, you have to work at a FANG in order to work at my X company, right? That's a belief system. And if that belief system is flawed, you'll never have the right output. And so if the question coming in from social media was more so, if that person is in-house, it's like, how can I make sure that I'm having the right behaviors in my company, and that I have a healthy recruiting system to make sure we are getting in a good number of individuals at every stage of the hiring process, then I would encourage that person to have a very structured academic approach to understanding where are the opportunities, because there could be different patterns at play. Then you might have structures that keep those patterns alive and that belief system alive. And if all the parts of the iceberg are flawed, then of course you're going to have flawed outcomes. And so I always encourage people to have the difficult conversation of like, what is the foundation of your structure? Because if that is broken and that was based off of the wrong assumptions, or it was based off the wrong belief systems, because I assume positive intent, but positive intent doesn't mean that we have unintended outcomes. And so you have to ask those questions of yourself, of your organization, of like, what did we stand up that we really didn't mean for it, but now the downstream impact, it's just like a hurricane. Another example of that is any referral system. If you work in a lot of companies that are majority white and Asian, human nature is we're going to refer more of our friends. So that's a structure that's keeping a belief system alive and producing inequitable outcomes. And so you're never going to have the right experience. And so I just give you a couple examples just to consider if you're thinking about like, how can I have a more healthier diversity recruiting strategy in my organization?
That's the beginning of a book right there. So many pieces that can be touched on there. You touched on technology, where there is experience on this whole panel today. What insight, technology, the tech world, how can I get to tech is the big question today. What insight, if any, can you share for those who are looking to transition, those to capitalize on already being in the technology industry? Just any insight or guidance for those looking to come here, or how we can, continue to make impact in this booming industry today.
Thais, should you or should I?
No, I can start. Look, it's a good question, right? I will say that we are at a really great place right now and I say that in the tech industry, but I say that from the perspective of tech industry is looking for us, y'all. They are looking for us. I never applied to Google. Google came looking for me. And I turned down their first offer, by the way, right? Which was a whole nother story. But the reality is, maybe it doesn't come as easily to some, but the fact that they're looking for us, the fact that more of us are in the tech organizations and the FANG companies also means that somewhere in your network, you know somebody who you can talk to, who you can leverage, even if it's just a listening ear, or it's a connection to meet with somebody, or it's some advice. Maybe get this certificate, or do this, tweak this. So I say that because I think we're in a good position right now to really to grow in the tech industry because we're being looked at. Now, education and all of those things, experiences. I think we talked about, understanding your experiences and how to pivot those to fit the competencies of the company and the roles that you're looking for. I mean, those are the things that you should leverage your network to make sure you're able to do.
I agree. I wouldn't add anything. I think networks are so important. And the only thing I might add is just don't give up, right? Because this might be a long journey. Again, know what you're really good at and be able to articulate your competencies. People want to work with others and will be more than happy to promote others that clearly know what they want to do. It's hard when someone comes to me like, oh, I want to get in tech. Well, what do you want to do in tech? Where do you think you will really shine in, right? What gets you excited? It doesn't necessarily need to know the exact role, but you need to know the competencies where you can really shine and be able to clearly articulate that. So just knowing your story, which I know we've already mentioned, would be the only thing I would add on to it. But like with the network at Hampton, we probably don't even leverage it enough. But I promise you, within 1 degree of separation, you probably can get to pretty much everywhere you need to go. Because either that person doesn't know someone that can open up a door, they know a friend of a friend that will. And so being able to really leverage that, I think, is really key, and it's helped me as well.
Thank you. Thank you. A couple of other questions. One, going back in time to when you were graduating from Hampton University, what is something that you would tell yourself on graduation day? Any insight? What message do you have for younger you?
I can kick that off. Mine is pretty simple. Don't worry about rushing into the world of work. See the world. I would totally tell myself, because when I think about the education that is learning other cultures, understanding customs, seeing landscapes, that's an education in and of itself. And I came from a pretty risk-averse family. I'm an only child, so all they cared about was get back home for the summer, right? But I had friends who were going off to study abroad, right? Who were taking opportunities outside of their immediate communities. And eventually, I had the opportunity to do some of that. And I kept thinking to myself, why didn't I do this earlier? And that was the right time to do it. As I was graduating from undergrad, I had less responsibilities. I maybe had less money too, but there are ways to see the world where you don't have to break the bank as well. So that's one of the things I would say to myself, take more risk there.
Great. And I wish you would have told my younger self that, because I definitely didn't follow the instructions. I would probably tell my younger self, like, don't get stuck to what you think your career path or your life is supposed to look like. I think we have this vision of, oh, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that, et cetera. Like, you couldn't have paid me to tell me I would have made a drastic change out of finance going into recruiting in college. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Even now, I'm like, how did I do this? And I went into recruiting, and then I went into other parts of diversity, and now, where I am. So I'm excited that I was able to just flex and not really think about what I thought my career was supposed to look like, or my overall life. I mean, to me, professional and personal are kind of one these days. And so, I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe in work-life blend, because I think something will always, unfortunately, not be 100, like not be 50-50, but there will be a blend that I need to be comfortable with. I need to be able, if I'm going to work 10 hours a day, I want to be able to work somewhere where I'm happiest. And right now it's being remote 100% of the time. So I think just going with the flow and not overthinking what you thought you were supposed to do, or what all your friends are doing and you're not doing, comparing yourself, just kind of go with the flow. I somewhat just, gravitated into that, later, late 20s, early 30s. But like, I would have told my younger self, like, yeah, you're a finance major, but it's okay for you to do something drastically different, if that's something that drives your passion.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much. This last one will kind of wrap it up a full circle with how you started with your introductions, but with your current roles and the current industry we are in, what is your absolute favorite thing, or something that brings you the most joy about it? And future you, is this what's next? Where would you, when you grow up, what is it that you want to be? This is one to ponder.
Yes. Curveball. I guess I can start. Well, what's next? I would say I want to give back to my community more. I think in my role, again, I didn't go into detail, but my role didn't exist at Instacart before I joined. So it's been very scrappy, roll up your sleeves, building something from scratch. But I want to develop the future head of diversities. And so for me, what's next is actually not necessarily expanded scope per se, but sharing the things that I've learned, whether it's good or not so good, I think is next for me. And then as regards to what makes me excited about, my role is being able to get it right, but also be able to get it wrong, and not have a fear of being judged, but being able to take risk at an organization that's like, let's do this thing differently than everyone else is doing it. And being able to flex in that way is exciting to me about the role that I'm in.
Good place.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what do I enjoy most? Look, I said earlier, I sit in a really interesting space where I get an opportunity to really make a difference to people through their leadership, and it's sometimes, directly. But I do think it's such a growing, tech is such a growing industry. And I think about the products that I touch, that the people I work with touch, and how those touch lives in so many vast ways, whether it's, helping, businesses, run by women, or, whether it's helping people in undeveloped countries find tech, like all of those great things. I don't do those, but I help support us to do that. And it's a source of pride for me. And what's next? Oh goodness, I never. So some people make a big plan. To your point, I don't plan what's next, right? Because it's more about I know the path is going to where the path is going to lead. I'm I'm going to be there when it gets there. So I don't have like a big plan. I really am just enjoying the ride and the journey, and look forward to continuing to grow. Where I am.
Thank you all so much for being here today. It was an honor for you to be here and share your experience. Thank you again. I will pass it back to you.
That was such incredible information. I am so grateful to the panelists who gave us all the tips and tricks and insight into how to really land that job. I saw all the questions in the chat about continuing ed and what you can do to be more marketable as we seek the next steps in our career. So that video will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. Send it out to your peers, send it out to your mentees, your mentors, whoever. Definitely encourage all of your circle to watch, because those were gems, everyone, gems. So now we're going to jump into something that's going to be super exciting, very interactive. I'm going to bring up Tiara Sargent, who served as our Young Alumni Liaison for this past tenure. Hey, Tiara. Tiara is going to give us some exciting trivia questions, test your Hampton knowledge. I'll be out there trying to get the answers right along with you guys. So, Tiara, take it away.
Thank you, Victoria. This morning has been so amazing. I have loved hearing from our current president and our current and past NHAA president, and I've definitely learned a lot in that C-suite. So this is a fun time for us to test our Hampton knowledge. And so I have about 15 trivia questions, some about NHAA, some about our current student body. And so let's get into it. So this first question is very easy. And if you were addicted to online shopping like I was, you should know this. So the first question is, what is the university's address? And I'll give everyone 20 seconds and you can put your answer in the chat. So what is the university's address? And try to give the full address with zip code. Okay, it seems like no one has responded. So a hint, Queen is in the address. So Queen. East Queen. Okay, great. Yes, that is the correct answer in the chat. Shirley B. Thank you. All right. So the next question is, what year is it? So that means, what is the class name of the rising freshmen and seniors? So what year is it? And some of this class name was pretty prominent in that C-suite panel. What class name is the rising freshmen and seniors? So what year is it? Yes, the correct answer is Onyx. It's the year of Onyx. Even though Ogre is the best class of them all, it is the year of the Onyx, and we will honor that class. So, okay, so Shirley D, Terrence, thank you for your answers. All right, so the next question, this might be a little bit hard, but when did the National Hampton Alumni Association become incorporated? So when were we incorporated? Any history buffs out there know our history? Uh, okay. Sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna give you this answer. So we were incorporated May 7th, 1986. Okay, I promise this one's way easier. So how many years, and you can Google this or go on our page, how many years was Dr. William R. Harvey president? So how many years was he president? Hint, it's on the Instagram page. Okay, he did start in 1978. So if we do a little bit math, 44 years. Yes, he was president for 44 years. All right. So, okay. So we just heard from her husband, but who is our current first lady? Who is our current first lady? Who is our current first lady? She is also a Hamptonian. Yes, Myra Williams is the current first lady. Thank you. All right, this should be easy. So name four class names. So name four of our class names. Name four of our class names. We gave you a hint earlier with Onyx. Ubiquity. Okay, I think someone got it. Ubiquity, Ogre, Onyx. Okay. All right. So we in our president's talk earlier, he talked about us he wants us to go to all of these games because we're in a new athletic conference. So what athletic conference are we currently in? So what is our current athletic conference? Yep. So that's right. So our conference is the Colonial Athletic Conference. And so if you are a true Hamptonian, you should definitely know this answer. So when was the university founded? When was the university founded? Everyone should know this. When were we founded? When was the university founded? Okay. Perfect. All right. So April 1st, 1868, we were founded. Okay. So the next one, you might have to Google or go on the university's website. But as we recruit students, we should know this. So how many bachelor programs do we have to offer? So how many bachelor programs do we have to offer? Okay, so we're actually sorry, I skipped a question. So the next question, before we answer how many bachelor programs we have, what is the university's motto? So what is our university's motto? So what is our university's motto? And it's two parts. One is common, and we might not hear the second part often. Okay, so yes, the standard of excellence is the first part. So it's the standard of excellence, then education for life. All right, so going back to that bachelor program. So how many bachelor programs do we have to offer? So close, not 52 programs, but we have 50 programs to offer. All right, so the next one. What are our university's colors? And please tell me the whole name of the first part. What are our university's colors? Perfect. So yes, our university's colors are reflex blue and white. So we only have a couple more questions to go. What is the percentage to men and women according to the website? So what is the percentage to men and women according to the website? What is the percentage to men and women according to the website? And hopefully you're getting to know our website a little bit more. So when you talk to incoming students, you can tell them some facts and figures. Yes, perfect. So it's 33 men and 66 women on our campus. All right, so this is pretty easy. What is our mascot? What's our mascot? So I think you all have it. Our mascot is we are the Pirates. All right, the last two questions. This is a test. Who is the director of alumni affairs? And she also serves as the assistant vice president of development. And she also runs Ebony Fire. Probably one of the flyest women on campus. Perfect. Yes. Yep. So, yep, it's Brent Martin. All right. Our last question, and this is a little NHAA fact. So, where was the first annual NHAA Legacy Blue Gala? So, where was the first annual NHAA Legacy Blue Gala? Okay. It just happened in May. Okay, perfect. Yep, it was in New York. Thank you. Well, that was so much fun working with you guys, testing your Hampton trivia, testing if you're really Hamptonians. Thank you.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for participating. I saw Sheila, Terrence, Leslie lighting up the chat with all your Hampton knowledge. As a former SRT member and student leader, shout out to SRT and student leaders. Some of those questions were really hard, and y'all tackled them. You got it. Really excited about Tiara being a young alum, really engaging with us as alums. So she also mentioned something about Onyx or Ogre being the best class. However, I and our next speaker would like to think that Quintessence, the most pure and concentrated essence under the sun, is the best class. Where are my Quintessence at? Let's see that in the chat. Okay, okay. Do we have any Ogres? How about Onyx? Ubiquity, New Birth. Okay, I see you. I see you guys. So did anybody stay in VC? We didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about where our allegiance lies when it comes to the dorm wars. So I personally was a VC cutie. However, I spent a lot of time in Twitchell because that's where my friends lived freshman year. Yep. And Harkness? Is Harkness in the building? How about Twitchell? Moton? Okay, but did you stay in Moton when it was a women's dorm or a men's dorm? You know, there's a lot of Hampton history. Davidson, where are the divas at? How about our Kennedy Queens or our Pierce brothers? Any Pierce in the house? So scholarly you guys are. How about James Hall? Is James Hall in the building? Did I miss anyone? I think I covered everyone. I love it. I love it. So one of my favorite parts about Hampton is our history and the fact that we have such an incredible legacy, toting so many historical landmarks across our campus. Fun fact, I only applied to one school, Hampton University, and completely fell in love. I'm sure a lot of you can share your I remember when stories or how I fell in love with Hampton stories. I'd like to know if anybody in the chat found love at Hampton. Are there any Hampton lovebirds on the chat? Let's see. Also, drop in your favorite I remember when story. Oh, I love it. Awesome, awesome. So did anybody in the chat join us for our Legacy Blue Gala? So let me tell you guys, we had an incredible time. Our next speaker, Tyel Hayes, was an integral part of launching that initiative. Tyel is an incredible mastermind when it comes to events and fundraising, serving as our co-chair for the alumni giving over the course of Gina's tenure. He also happens to be a quintessence, class of 1998. Is class of 98 in here? You guys usually roll really, really strong. So I'm sure you guys are in here. Class of 98. All right, dope. So we're just giving it another minute, waiting for our next speaker to join us. You know, in the land of virtual reality, we're having a little technical audio difficulty, but he's going to be joining us shortly. And I actually think he is in the room. Tyel, can you hear me? Can I hear you? Okay, awesome. Hi, we are tech team. We are on, right? So let's get this going. With no further ado, I would like to introduce Tyel Hayes, our alumni giving co-chair, who we are very excited to hear from to talk about the progress we made over the last 4 years. And he might drop a couple hints about what's to come. So without further ado, Tyel, take it away.
Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? I want to do a quick sound and audio check. Can everyone see? Perfect. Okay. All right. So hello, everyone. So great to actually be here. This has been such an amazing biennial. I think it's great that we get a chance to really hear with everybody and make sure that we are all I'm being told to turn my video on. Okay. Wasn't that great? All right. Thank you. So what I want to do is just really today, and now that we're all on, you can see me, you can hear me, we're all good to go. Is just really walk you guys through a bit of what we have done and where we're headed. And I want to do a bit of show and tell today. I do want to shout out that last panel. It was absolutely amazing. It was great to also see the matriculation of your classmates, to see people who you were in school with and you've seen grow and now see them in these amazing big jobs. And so it's really cool to kind of be able to watch that and remember us all kind of running around the yard and what that actually looked like. So what I'm going to do now is I'm here representing Jeff and I. So Jeff Silverthorne is my alumni giving co-chair. I want to give a shout out to my partner in crime for the past 4 years. We've done some really strong collaboration to really bring this plan forward. So what I'm going to do is actually just walk you guys through some of the updates and the highlights that of what's happened with the alumni giving over the past few years, so that you all can have a feel for kind of where we're headed and where we are going. So if you give me 1 second, I will start sharing my screen, and then I'm gonna make sure I definitely save time here in the end to actually hear from you guys and make sure that we are all squared away. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna talk through it and walk you guys through just here some of the highlights. And what we're going to be doing is sending out some of this content later for you all, and we'll upload to the actual session. All right. So what I want to do is first talk about what our plan was from an alumni giving standpoint, what we achieved, and then where we're going next. So when you think about what our plan was coming in 4 years ago, we were sitting under 3 key pillars. And one was to drive giving back to HU via partnership with the Alumni Association. And I think we wanted to make sure in this past administration that we really deepened our relationship with the Office of Alumni Affairs, and so that we could really begin to create some synergistic wins. And obviously this was all 2018, right before COVID hit. And so we were able to be thoughtful about how we drive some of that. I'll talk about some of the results of that in a second. Our second was to bolster chapter giving. We know that chapters are the lifeblood of the association, and we wanted to make sure that those amazing moments that we create where we are either giving book scholarships or giving scholarships to incoming freshmen, picking our endowed scholars, whether we are having welcome programs and gifts to our students, all the amazing things that our 39 chapters are actually doing. Wanted to be, how do we create more of those moments? Because we know that those moments are so unbelievably meaningful for the students who are coming in, but they're also super meaningful for us. And so we wanted to be really thoughtful on how do we help change the trajectory of how chapters were actually working and giving. And then lastly was NHAA chapter engagement, being really thoughtful and focused on how do we drive more members of our 39,000 alums. How do we get more people as active dues payers? So I'm going to talk to you a bit about, those were our three strategies. Let me talk to you about a bit about what we did. So what we did these past 4 years was really centered around making sure that we were partnering with the Office of Alumni Affairs. I'll talk about a few key highlights. Pre-COVID day and during COVID, really partnering on Day of Giving. We found that Day of Giving was an amazing opportunity for us to really lean in. We were able to hit a record $3 million in giving in 2 years ago. And we'll have this year's fiscal numbers very soon. The fiscal just ended a few weeks ago. So they are off fiercely crunching all the numbers, but we are hopeful that we're going to have another strong year. But to hit 3 million a couple of years ago in alumni giving in one single year was outstanding. And that was during COVID. So just to really have that, and that's a testament to the strong partnership that we have with the Office of Alumni Affairs, and then working with them on everything from homecoming to Day of Giving to reunion planning, and being really thoughtful, locking arms to arms with them on things like advanced training for our class leaders. Jeff has done an outstanding job of, if anybody's a class leader, you know Jeff, because he has tracked you down, right, to make sure that you have everything you need to be successful in your giving. And we really wanted to be thoughtful about how we can work with the Office of Alumni Affairs to make sure that we were pouring back in our expertise as previous class leaders, Jeff and I, and giving that gift back to those people coming through. And we definitely saw fruits of that. The next one is around bolstering chapter giving. And a part of that, those numbers that we were able to hit, that 3 million, that 2 million the previous year, are all driven on the backs of our reunions and our chapters. So we know that, looking at our chapter giving, really being thoughtful and innovative, and how during COVID, do we change some of the models? Do we try to drive more scholarships? And we have a number of chapters that were able to actually, either up their giving or begin giving back to students in financial ways that was really meaningful. We also made a very strong structural change to the way we were looking at endowed scholarships as another way for us to be really thoughtful on how do we drive continuing giving back to students who aren't just freshmen. So all these are really are ways that we wanted to really help drive and bolster chapter giving. Our last piece is chapter engagement. And I mentioned that earlier. One of the things that I'm very personally proud of is we kicked off right before COVID our first day of service, where our chapters all went out on the same day, and we all did different service projects based on what their chapter needs were. And we found that as an amazing model that we did literally right before COVID. And so what we're going to do, as we're now kind of back outside of it, is really look at some of those models moving forward, but finding ways for us to have connection that is deeper with alums that might not be able to make meetings, that just given life and time, but people who can be active dues payers, and then and really get them involved in the overall program. All right. And the next thing I want to talk about is one of our biggest accomplishments was setting up the Student Emergency Fund. As you guys know, the Student Emergency Fund is designed to support current hardworking students who are encountering financial difficulties. The fund is really provides individual grants for financial support, allowing students to focus on achieving their academic goals. Everyone here knows someone, right? We all know someone. We may have been that someone who either couldn't get in or couldn't get out of Hampton based on a relatively small amount of money. Looking back on it now, it's relatively small. It feels huge now. $1,500 was humongous for 18, you're like trying to get into school, and you stretch every penny in the family, and you are now trying to figure out which auntie, which grandma, which cousin can help you kind of either get in or get out of Hampton. And so we wanted to help remove that barrier for many students and not have them to have to then turn to things like GoFundMe's or non-secure sites that might not allow them to hit their goals. So we imagined the Student Emergency Fund and kicked that off right before COVID actually happened. Is when we actually back in 2020 is when we established the fund with the university, and it offered an amazing platform for us to take something that we have been doing previously, like our day parties, and mix that with Club Quarantine and have our own Hampton-owned Student Emergency Fund party, which I remember I was laying out in my backyard for most of that afternoon, where we had different DJs across our Hampton family shepherd us in through different decades of music and all the support of our Student Emergency Fund. And that event, I believe we raised over $10,000 on that day. Was an amazing way to jumpstart this program. And so we all know the importance of a Student Emergency Fund, and that one event really helped catapult us into really knowing that we had something that connected with alums. We know that it's something that was deeply meaningful to actual students and something that we could actually grow. So what we did with that is we took that base of Student Emergency Fund and used that as the anchor and the why for our Legacy Blue Gala. So many of you guys, if you have not seen or heard about the gala, then I have no idea where you've been. But our gala back in May was our latest national gala, was the feather in the cap of our past couple of years of alumni giving. We really set out to transform how we raise money. We wanted to set out to transform how we thought about alumni engagement and corporate sponsorship as it relates to the Alumni Association. And we set out to really have an event that really fit the legacy of Hampton and how we all show up in the world and how we navigate through space. And so we were able to achieve that. So I definitely want to shout out the committee. Victoria's on, Centoria's on, Nefertiti, Gina, Carol, and the team really, and Maureen Carter, they're doing an amazing job this past year of working tireless hours to put this gala on back in May. And what we're gonna do is you're gonna see some recap videos come out very soon to really talk about what we did. But on net, as Gina mentioned earlier, we raised in total, we were able to fundraise for the Student Emergency Fund over $70,000 that we were able to get back into the fund. So we're actually really, really excited now that we've crunched those numbers in. And that includes about $35,000 of donations that came directly from the alumni base. And so it's being really, it's such an amazing opportunity for us to really give back in a meaningful way to our alumni base, and then also recognize our own. The gala also allowed us to represent 4 Hamptonians who have made amazing contributions to our Alumni Association, to our university, and to the broader world and community. And so we were all really excited and frankly very proud of what we did. And I'll quote an observation that Centoria made. One of the things that we found is, you have a run a show. So here's a little behind the scenes info on the gala. You have this kind of wonderful run a show going, and Carol and Nefertiti had timed this thing down to the second. We were like, go. We had a full run going. And we got there, and the observation that Centoria made was when Ruth Carter spoke, and she went on for about 14 and a half minutes. She spoke, and the people on the committee, I will say we were excited she was speaking, but we were also a little anxious because we were like, we are way over schedule and we need to kind of get things moving. But when you stop and you reflected, the observation that was made is that you felt the pride and you heard her speak about of all the awards she's gotten. She's gotten Oscars. She's been nominated for Emmys. So she's got, you name it, she's got it. She spoke so beautifully about getting something from her university and what that meant to her. And it makes you pause and reminds us that we have to take care of each other and realizing how important it is when we stand up for one another and give each other our own flowers, how beautiful those actual flowers are. So that was for me. I will never forget that speech. I heard talking about, being in Armstrong Hall and making costumes that someone just asked her to do, and how this one opportunity, as Thais mentioned, she wasn't searching it out. This opportunity found her, and she jumped in on it. She met the opportunity, and look at where it took her. And had she not gone to Hampton, it would have been in a pretty different space for her. And so just such an amazing story and testament to the power of our university, the power of our alumni association. So really, really excited for you guys to actually see a lot of this recap footage that's coming. And what I'll do is I will end with what's coming next. So if you think you've seen it, get ready. Like we've already had a couple of strategy meetings with the new administration on what's coming next. And I am literally energized by the direction that Willie is taking this, the ambition he has given us. I tell people all the time, I'm not the best at like throwing balls and like, playing sports, but you give me a number to hit and I'll hit it every time. And so I'm so energized by the ambition and the challenge Willie has given us to really stretch our thinking and transform the way we think about alumni giving. And so with that, we are going to really focus in on 4 things moving forward. And those 4 things are really centered around not only driving a deeper relationship with the Office of Alumni Affairs, but with the entire administration. So how we really thoughtful about working with the entire HU ecosystem to really tap in and leverage our superpowers that we know are out here in these 39,000. Leverage our superpowers to actually help further what's happening, and then let that lead to transformative growth. Number 2 is really continue to drive chapter engagement. As I mentioned, chapters are the lifeblood, and is not enough to be a dues paying member. As Joe Briggs said in his acceptance speech, when he got his award at the gala, he talked about the idea of don't just sign up. Sign up and make your voice heard. Sign up and say something. Sign up and give, because that's how we drive change. Every one of us out there has a superpower, and it's our job to kind of bring it in. Our last 2 is going to be about how do we bolster that chapter giving, and again, really drive more giving through the association and through our chapters. And then lastly, create some new pathways for giving. And we'll give a lot more details on what that means later. But just know that this gala was not it was our first of its kind. It is not our last of its kind. And we want to really have this thing continue to grow, morph, and have its own children, right? And build its own legacy in ways that can really enrich both us as chapter leaders, as alumni, and as the university as a whole. All right. All right. So we're going to jump into Q&A now. If you guys have any questions, I know I talked a lot. Anybody who knows me know I love to talk. So we're going to jump into Q&A. Victoria's going to come back and we're going to have a little chit chat. Hi.
Hey, everyone. So first question up I see is from Terrence Hawkins. Tayel, you are a sought after resource. Terrence asks, can you come and speak during local chapter meetings to raise more enthusiasm in planning fundraising events and galas like the Legacy Blue Gala? I also want to shout out Jamila Jinks, who was a part of the committee as well. So Tayel, are you available for booking is what I'm asking.
First of all, and Jamila's going to kill me because one, we are actually, we are classmates and friends in real life too. So Jay, sorry for that. Not bad. Sorry for that.
She shouted you out in the chat and everything. Told everybody you were class of 98. She was looking out. You missed her. It's fine. It's fine. It happened.
But yes, Jeff and I are both available. That was something that we actually started doing during COVID, was actually going to regional meetings and chapter meetings. And now with Zoom, we are able to kind of do that. I travel for old fashioned. So I'm a pretty cheap date. And in turn, I can go anywhere. So let me know. But yes, we are very available to be here for you guys.
I've been out with Tayel. Tayel is not a cheap date. I can wholeheartedly say that. Next question up is from Jacqueline Ray Morris. She says, will you assist and provide strategic guidance in marketing to grow chapter engagement?
Yes, absolutely. So that's one of the big challenges that Willie has already given us for us to help lay a blueprint on what was done last year roll that down in an appropriate level for the chapters in the region. So yes, that toolkit is actually coming similar to what Jeff and I did in the past 4 years for the classes. So we actually work with Office of Alumni Affairs to really create strategic framework for them to actually think about giving. We want to apply that same thinking over to chapters now with the anchor around whatever that event is you want to throw to actually be a huge fundraiser for you. So yes, that is absolutely coming.
Awesome. Yeah, Tayel and Jeff have been really great resources. I can say personally, as a class leader, class of 2010, shout out to Quintessence 7. We've been able to lean on them for some really strategic and innovative ideas on how to raise funds for our class. So yeah, everyone should definitely leverage their insight for your chapters and regions as well. Are there any other questions? There is a delay in the stream.
Yeah.
So just giving it a second to make sure that we don't miss anybody.
Right. I want to just revisit that idea of superpowers. I know sometimes it can feel like, do I have one more thing I want to join? Right. We all have something that we're doing after work, whether it's managing kids and families, sorority meetings, church meetings, after working, whatever it is. And I always say that I'll take one quality hour of you working in your superpower. If I can get one quality hour from you in your superpower per week, we can literally transform what we're doing. And again, as a member of fraternity, I'm very familiar with the very long meetings that we can sit in. What I'm suggesting is how we very thoughtful of how you can offer your gifts up. And oftentimes we don't know that you're really good at or have experience in, right? And I'll use our committee members for the gala. A lot of us, we had not done direct work on a Hampton gala, but we had done a ton of direct work on other galas and other associations or other events. So bringing that skill set in was something that was amazing. So I'll ask everyone out there, please raise your hand and let us know something you're really good at, because you never know where that might be needed, or there's an idea that is waiting for you to actually come in and help bring to life.
Awesome. So the last question that I see is regarding how can people find their local chapters? There is a local chapter directory on our website. The website is undergoing a rehaul with the new administration, so give us some time to update all the contacts, but there is viable contact information there, and our current administration is always willing to point you in the right direction if they aren't the proper contact. So if there aren't any more questions, I will thank Tayel for his time. I truly appreciate you jumping on to impart your wisdom on us and let us know what we've done and where we're going. Your time is appreciated and your commitment to the university is unmatched. So thanks, Tayel.
Thank you all.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to tee up for our next moment in the spotlight. I am so excited to bring our next speaker up. Okay, so we're having a little bit of a tech snafu. We are fixing that on the back end, so just give us a minute. Sit here, chat with me. I'm excited to be in your company today. So as I was saying, I'm excited about the next speaker, personal connection. This is my classmate, Marion Lee, who has been an avid real estate investor in the Hampton area since we graduated, and understanding the importance of building a legacy and supporting the community that our Home by the Sea resides in. So excited for you guys to hear everything he has to bring to the table. Awesome. So does anybody live in the Hampton area right now? Let's see that in the chat. Anybody still in the 7-5? Cool. Is anybody calling in from New York? The greatest place on earth next to Disney World, if I do say so myself. All right. So I think our next speaker can hear me now. Can you hear me, Marion? Can I hear you? I can hear you. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Marion Lee, class of 2010, to give us a little insight on real estate investing and his journey as a real estate investor. So Marion, over to you.
I'm excited to be here. A little bit about myself. So, as mentioned, I started investing in real estate in the Hampton Roads area because of attending Hampton. I actually live in LA, so I'm not in the Hampton Roads area anymore, but I do business there. And I started investing in the area about 5.5 years ago and have stayed in the area just based off of, really building a team and gaining some momentum there. So been there, love it there. Actually, we'll be back in a month or two just to kind of check on everything. But hopping into real estate, I know one of the main questions right now is with all the talks of a recession, is it still a good time to even think about real estate investing? And my answer is yes. Um, with the caveat that every market is different. So if you think about the New York market or the Hampton Roads market, it's going to be different than the LA market. And understanding that, and then understanding that you need to buy or invest and look at it from your strategy and whatever your strategy is. And we're going to talk through a couple different strategies, but as long as you can find real estate priced that fits your strategy, then I think it's still a good time to invest in real estate. I'm continuing to invest, and one of the main things that I'm doing to kind of say prepare, if you will, for a potential recession or potential market shift is just thinking about and looking at our current prices, and if things were to shift about 10 to 15%, would this property still make a good investment? So I'm kind of baking that into my analysis now in kind of preparations for a potential recession and potential drawback on housing prices. But I'm going to jump into just real estate investing, and I'm going to keep it at a higher level. If anyone's familiar with real estate investing, there's a ton of legs and different routes that you can take in real estate. I'm going to talk more about the traditional, just buying a property and renting it out. There are a ton of other avenues, but I'm not going to go down those today. Interest of time, and some of them become a little complex. So, and keep it to the basics. In that, though, I think there's three main types of real estate investing. You have your long-term investments, where you have tenants that move in and their lease is typically a year long, and is what I think everyone really thinks about when they think about real estate investing, and rental properties. And that's where we're going to focus on rental properties as the type of real estate investing. And then you have your midterm rentals. This is a newer term that I've heard kind of bubbling up among real estate investors. And this is really around shorter leases, 3 to 4 months. And the most common type of midterm rental right now, or that I hear about, is for travel nurses. So typically travel nurses are on assignment for 3 to 4 months. They need a furnished place to live. And so midterm rentals is a kind of rental that they are looking for. And then the third type is a short-term rental. And short-term is an Airbnb or vacation rental. I think we've all either heard or stayed in an Airbnb. And Airbnb and short-term rentals is a little bit different. With long-term and mid-term rentals, a lot of times the person living in the property, the tenant, is paying for their own water and electric and gas and all the utilities. In the short-term rental space, the Airbnb or the VRBO or just vacation rentals, you are acting more as like a mini hotel. So it's more of a transition from real estate investing to a mini hospitality business. If you think about people traveling with their families for the summer, they want the experience or the feel of a hotel, but in your home. So it's a little bit different from an operational standpoint, but a way that you can successfully invest in real estate. And in that, I'm going to go now into just what are you really looking for, what you should look for, what I look for in purchasing a rental property. And it's really about, for me, the cash flow. So how much am I able to make from this property every month once the mortgage, the taxes, insurance are all paid, and any other expenses. And I say any other expenses because there's a rule of thumb or formula that is commonly used that you should take your gross rents, subtract your mortgage, and in most long-term, like you think like a 30-year, 15-year mortgage, your insurance and taxes are included in that payment. So your gross rent minus your mortgage payment, and then you should subtract about 30% of your gross rent and keep that to the side for a rainy day. That 30% will make up about 10% if any big things break. So if you think about it, right now in the summertime, it's hot, air conditioners break more than any other time of the year, right? So if you're setting aside 10% of your rent throughout the year, when and if an air conditioner breaks, then you are able to have the money set aside to repair that air conditioner or replace that air conditioner. It's really what is called CapEx, which are capital expenditures. So they're larger things. I know someone, unfortunately, during the 4th of July holiday season, had a firework come through their roof, right? And so if they're setting aside that money throughout the year, when this problem occurs, they're going through their insurance. But if they didn't want to go through their insurance, they would be able to just pay for that repair because they've been setting aside that money. Another 5% of that 30% that's being set aside should be set aside for operational expenses. So if you have a leaky sink or you need to replace a door hinge or something like that, you're not digging into your own pocket. You've been setting aside 5% of your rent every month to cover those smaller costs. Another 5% should be set aside for your vacancies. So we love to have tenants stay for multiple years at a time, but sometimes folks transition and either for jobs or just different personal reasons, they need to move out of your property to a different location. And in between that time, the time that they move and the time that you're needing to or having someone else move in, you may have to pay the mortgage. And if you're paying the mortgage out of pocket, it's better to have some money set aside. So if you do have to pay that, then it's not coming out of your pocket and you don't have to stress about it because you have that reserve. The last 10% is set aside for property management. So in most situations, you can find a property management for less than 10% of your gross rent, but it's just safe to set aside 10%. And if you're able to find someone to manage for, let's say, 7 or 5%, that's just additional cash flow for you. So really quick, just to recap that formula, if you have your gross rent, let's say it's $1,000 a month, your mortgage is $500, and then you, again, 30% of that 1,000 is 300. So you take 1,000 minus 500 minus 300, and that gives you $200 every month that you're able to comfortably put in your pocket and know if anything was to kind of happen with the property, you have the money set aside to make those repairs. And then $200 a month may be great for some people. Some people may say, hey, if I'm going to buy this property and I'm going to take on this risk, I want to make $300 a month. And that's the thing with real estate. It's really personal and it's a lot of little decisions. So if you decide that your number is $300 a month and not $200, then you just need to work that formula So your end goal, your end number is a number that you're comfortable with. All right, so just talked a little bit about the analysis of those, and then I'm going to talk about a little bit more in detail about the different types with long-term, mid-term, and short-term. In analysis, you should make sure that your cash flow number, if you're looking at an Airbnb, short-term or mid-term, that it would work out as a long-term rental, because that is the safest bet, right? So some people are purchasing properties right now just for Airbnb. Airbnb is popular, and Airbnb does allow you to make more money because people are coming in more frequently, and you're able to charge more on a nightly basis than you are for a long-term tenant. But in the situation that Airbnb laws change, either at a state level or city level, or just people just stop coming to your town, or coming as frequently, then you're able to pivot and make sure that and rent it out to a long-term tenant and still make sure that you're able to make your desired income a month from that property. All right. And then from those three types, I'm going to transition now into different ways of buying them and different ways that you could potentially get started with little money and then a lot of money and kind of like in between. Some are easier than others. I guess the best way for a long-term rental, just buy it, put a tenant in there and rent it out, would be going with your just traditional mortgage or conventional mortgage, where you purchase a property. Right now, you can do a conventional loan for 20 to 25% down of the purchase price. And then if the property you purchase is in a great condition and ready to go, you can find a property manager and have that property manager find a tenant. And then just kind of rent it out that way. It's really probably the easiest way to go is that conventional route. And the property manager aspect, you don't have to have a property manager. You could buy the property and then find your tenant yourself. There's different platforms like Zillow and others that will help you market the property and help you manage your interactions with that tenant and help you collect rent from that tenant virtually. And so you don't have to have a property manager. You can. And honestly, I would recommend having a property manager because it just simplifies it for you, and you don't have to interact with tenants. I think that's a lot of people's concern is, what if something breaks, or what if they call me at midnight, or anything like that. And if you have a property manager, you never get any of those calls. The tenant will call the manager and you just kind of get the bill later. I actually manage all of my own properties, so I get all of those phone calls and text messages and emails. But you don't have to do that. You can get a property manager totally hands off. And I think when you have a property manager, it's probably the truest form of investing, right? You are hands off. You're not in the day-to-day. You're able to place your money, make sure that's in a secure investment and a good investment, and then just receive that ROI or that monthly income from the rents. The next way that if you don't have 20% or you wanted to kind of get in at a lower entry point, you could do what's called house hacking. And it's a term that's become more popular in the last couple of years. What it really is buying a property, and let's say it's a 3-bedroom house. You buy this 3-bedroom property, and instead of you using the 2 other rooms as an office and a closet, you say, you know what, I'm going to rent these rooms out to someone. and allow people to live in the house with you and rent out the rooms. So in the situation where your mortgage is, let's say, $1,000. Actually, that's probably not realistic in these times. Actually, it is. There's some areas where you can in the country where you can still buy a property and have a mortgage for $1,000. Let's use that. Your mortgage is $1,000 on this house. You buy a 3-bedroom house. You rent out each room for $500. Then your mortgage is paid by the folks living in those 2 extra rooms, and you don't necessarily make any money every month because you're just covering your mortgage, but you're saving that cost that you would have to pay for rent somewhere or paying the mortgage yourself. So it is, in a way, like making $1,000 a month once you've rented out those rooms. There's questions coming in. I will stop and pause here just to kind of take a few of those so I don't get all the way to the end and then forget and see where we were, if that's okay. Okay.
You know, it wouldn't be a virtual meeting if you didn't start talking on mute. Thank you to our tech team who let me know that I was just plugging away on mute. So what I was saying was that first question I see in the chat is talking about the process of screening potential renters. So Marion, can you talk about that? And just shameless plug, if you want a great follow about Marion's renters sagas, definitely follow his Instagram, Legacy Home Solutions. There's some great content and storytelling on there about his ups and downs with his renters. So Marion, how do you screen your renters? What's that process like?
So this is one of the things that I figured out that I don't like doing, so I'm trying to outsource it. But in the process, I post them on like a Zillow or other sites, Hot Pass. There's a couple other ones. Receive their applications, and then I have an application that just gives them general information. So I'm getting a little bit of background for them. And one of the main things that I look for early in the application process is speaking to their current landlord. Their current or previous, if they're like staying with a family member now or something like that. And I think that's one of the most telling signs. If a tenant was a headache for a previous landlord, they will let you know. And so that's one way to kind of just weed out folks really quickly is if you were a problem before, history is likely to repeat itself. From there, if I get a good reference from their current landlord, I will send them through a credit and background check. And I use a platform called SmartMove, which is like a subsidiary of TransUnion, the credit, I won't say bureau, but the credit agency, let's say. And then they complete a credit and background check. What I've found is in my market, in the Hampton Roads market, that credit scores aren't always a great indicator, and it's harder to find folks with, let's say, a 680 or a 650 credit score. Again, in Hampton Roads area, rents are $1,000, a little bit less in some areas. And so credit score isn't always the best indicator. But what I look for is good payment history. So even if your credit, you've done some things and your score isn't good, are you paying your bills that you do have on time? And I look for a 90% on-time payment ratio. And that gives me the comfort of knowing, hey, we all have life events that may affect our credit scores, but the bills that this person does have, they're paying them. And then I look at backgrounds. I really just want to make sure that there's no serious crimes. And when I say serious, I think of like assaults or like murders or things like that. it's very interesting to me that like traffic violations will come up a lot of times in these background reports. I don't necessarily look and hold any minor criminal offenses against folks. I just want to make sure that they're not on any registries that they needed to register for, and they've never committed any serious crimes. And this is like my preferences. You could say like, hey, like in my properties, I don't want anyone that, I don't know, has been in jail or gotten a ticket for speeding, right? And if that is your criteria, then if you can set it that way. I'm a little bit more open, but that's kind of my screening process. Start off with a landlord reference, make sure we have good payment history on the credit report, make sure there's no serious crimes committed previously.
Awesome. So I see a lot of questions about international Airbnb, and I totally understand that your target market is the Hampton Roads area. Do you have any insight into what the Airbnb process is for international?
Not international. I would assume it's relatively the same, and maybe the work would be in like acquiring the property internationally, because of the platform, the Airbnb platform being an international like a company, so to speak. But yeah, I'm not familiar with setting up an international Airbnb. My word of caution with Airbnb is it's hospitality. You're going into running a mini hotel. But again, you can outsource that, and there are people that manage Airbnbs similar to the way that people manage long-term rentals for people as well. So you could definitely outsource the management of your international Airbnb to someone in that local country.
Thanks so much for that insight. One thing that I do also know is that you obviously have to abide by the local restrictions when it comes to non-residents purchasing property in a distant locale. So definitely do a lot of research when it comes to buying something in another market. So Marion.
And really quick, I would say even domestically, right? So like in the Hampton Roads area, you have to have like a license to operate. And I know there's been talk around Atlanta where they're restricting the number of Airbnbs someone can have to 2, and one of them being their primary residence. So knowing the rules of your area, really big for Airbnb. And then if you decide to self-manage your long-term rentals, knowing the landlord tenant laws in your state, also really big. But again, if you get a property manager, they'll handle all of that for you.
This is a very interesting question. So someone asked regarding foreclosures, and I'm not sure you've had any experience with this either, but with foreclosures and someone having an existing renter in the space, is it appropriate to try to ask the previous landlord for a recommendation or a view on the tenant?
So if I understand this right, you're buying a foreclosed property and it currently has a tenant.
Yeah, that's how I'm.
Is it okay
I'm
to ask the person that's being foreclosed on about that
right,
tenant?
right.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's okay. I don't know how honest of a response you will get, being
Or
that
even a
person's going
response
through
at all. You know?
Yeah, because they're going through foreclosure. But I think it's okay. One thing that you can do, it's called an estoppel agreement. It's the spelling of it. Don't get me to spell it, but it's pretty much a form that you can give the current tenant and have them fill it out before you complete the purchase of the property. If you're inheriting a tenant, I would recommend you do that. On that form, you can ask them what their current rent is, when their lease started, when their lease ends, any major maintenance items that you should be aware of. I recommend this form because once you purchase the property, you inherit that tenant's problems and you inherit their lease. And the seller may tell you, oh yeah, this person rented out for $1,000 a month. And if you don't have anything with the tenant agreeing, like, yeah, my rent is $1,000 and my lease ends on August 1st, then you could have some issues once you are the new landlord trying to enforce what you thought were the rules. So if you just get clarity from both the seller and the current tenant on what the rules are, so to speak, and what the agreement is, it can help you avoid some headaches. Awesome.
Thanks for that insight. You can go ahead and
No problem.
finish. There are no other questions in the chat.
Awesome. Okay. I'm going to power through. So we're talking about, I was hopping back into the ways to get started. So we talked about house hacking, buying that 3-bedroom house, renting out those 2 bedrooms, and covering your mortgage that way. The third, and again, this isn't an exhaustive list. There's other ways that we can kind of go into it. I'm just going to kind of keep it simple. The third way is buying a multifamily property. So I know like certain areas of LA, there's duplexes, triplexes, quads, which are like 4 units. And you can purchase one of those. You can purchase 2 to 4 units using the same residential financing that you use to purchase a single family house. And so you can purchase that house or that multifamily property, and you can rent out those other units. So instead of just renting out rooms, you now have other units in the building that you've purchased, and those you can rent those out. And it's somewhat of a house hack, but it's more like a building hack now because you own the whole building and you're able to rent out those other units. Again, not an exhaustive list, but those are just kind of quick ways to get started. Your 20% down rule way, just conventional, buy it, rent it out. And then there's a couple of different ways that you can buy it as your primary residence and kind of rent out some other aspects or portions of that property. And then I'm going to hop into financing and like how do you kind of like put this piece together, and how does that come together with either a single family house or the multifamily properties that I just discussed. Again, I'm going to go through 3 main ones, and this isn't an exhaustive list. There's probably other ways to finance out there, but just the 3 ones that come to mind pretty quick. Your conventional loan, right? Go to the bank, let's say Bank of America is pretty national, and say, hey, I want to buy this property as a rental property. They'll ask you to put 25% down as a down payment, and then just kind of go through that process. 20 to 20% down, 20 to 25, excuse me, can seem daunting if some people live in more expensive markets. LA, for example, like average housing price is like $800,000, right? So $160,000 down is really tough. But believe it or not, there are multiple markets within the country where you can go buy a property for $100,000 or less. If you think about some of your areas like St. Louis, or I've looked in like Alabama, they still have properties, great condition, for right around $100,000. So if you are in a market where putting 20% down just kind of seems crazy, I would encourage you to look at other areas of the country because, again, if you buy the property and give it to a property manager, they're going to find you a tenant and they're going to take care of all your issues. So you don't really have to worry about the property or the asset being somewhere else because you have people to take care of it for you. If you think about it, it's kind of like the CEO of the company that you work for, right? You have all these little offices across the country for, let's say, Coke. And they kind of are self-managed by the leader of that local location. Same thing if you were CEO of your real estate business. The other loan I'll talk about is an FHA loan. FHA is a federally backed loan program, and it allows you to purchase a property with as little as 3.5% down. When you do that, you will have, in most cases, what they call private mortgage insurance until you get to 20% equity in your property. But it allows you to buy a property with just 3.5% down. And then in the situation where you're house hacking, you buy that 3-bedroom house and then you rent out those rooms. then you can get in it with a lot less capital or a lot less money out of pocket. Let's say you buy a $300,000 house, 3.5%, let's say 12,000-ish. And then that's all the money you have to come out of pocket. And then you're able to buy that house, rent out those rooms. With an FHA loan, you're also able to use it to buy that multifamily property that I discussed. So that same 3.5% down can be used to buy a duplex, triplex, or quad. And again, it's only 3.5% down. The main thing with using an FHA loan is it has to be owner occupied. You do have to live there. And I believe the time is a year. You have to live there for a year. Don't quote me on the rules on like that, the length of time, but I know you do have to live in the property to use the FHA loan. The last type of loan that I'm going to discuss is not the last that ever exists, is the VA loan. This is for our veterans. This is a really cool benefit that are like active duty and veterans have access to, where I believe it's 0% down. You really just have to cover your closing cost, and they are able to finance the property for you using this VA loan. I think this is a very powerful tool for our veterans and our active duty military that want to start making some money in real estate. Because again, if you're living in this property, you can buy a multifamily property, or let's say a single family house. Let's just keep it really simple. You can buy this house that you live in, and if you have some military buddies or you just want to rent it out to people in the open market, you can rent out those rooms. You have 0% down payment, and you just have to cover your closing cost. Again, it is a product for veterans and active duty military, so not everyone can get it. But for those that qualify, it's a really powerful tool to start purchasing real estate and making some money. The last thing I want to discuss, and then we have more questions, we can get to them, is just your down payments, right? So we talked about needing either 20% or 3% down. Some really quick ways that you can get this is just start thinking about the seller. If you're purchasing a property, especially if you're purchasing a property where you only have to have 3.5% down, you can ask the seller to give you a credit. You can ask them for 3% of the purchase price to be given to you and use that money for your down payment. I think when I tell people that, they're kind of always blown away. Like, I can just get them to give me money? Yeah, you can. Actually, you can ask a seller for anything that you want, right? If you want the house painted purple, you could ask them. They could say no, but you can ask them. Another one is grants. So again, if you're using a FHA loan or it's like your first property, your first term home buyer, some states have local programs where they'll give you grants to purchase a property. There's different grants or out there that you can qualify for based on different criteria that can help you with your down payment money. Good old savings, sitting around working, putting aside some money for a while, just getting ready through that way. And the last aspect is a partner. So if you are going to do that 20% down and you have 15,000 and someone else has 15,000, you guys can come together. You have to both be on the mortgage, both be on the deed, and you guys put that money together and buy a property. And then you guys can structure the income and how that is divvied up between you, however you would like. But I think coming together allows folks to enter the market and begin purchasing real estate where sometimes they might not have been able to otherwise. That's all I have planned today. Happy to answer more questions. If you guys want to DM me, happy to take those and help. I know we're kind of getting close on time.
Marion, I cannot thank you enough for all the wisdom you shared with our alumni today. I'm sure they're going to be flooding your DMs, so be prepared for it. And as someone who just got engaged and is talking about the process of buying real estate. This was super helpful for me personally. So I've been able to watch your journey since inception, and I can't say enough how extremely proud I am of you and watching you and your company grow. Sending all the love to your family. Hey, Sade. Hey, Gav. Hey, Chloe. Just thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. So now I just want to take a minute to honor the legacy that our leaders before us have left on. So for the Hampton family, losing pieces of our family tree is definitely something that we don't take lightly. So in this moment, I just want to take some time to honor our pirates who have gone before us. Everyone, I just want to say thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us. It was an extreme pleasure to serve as your MC for today. And before we close the afternoon, I just want to bring up our new fearless leader for a couple of closing remarks. So with that, Mr. Willie Williams, President of the National Hampton Alumni Association.
Yes, thank you, Victoria, fearless leader. Hamptonians, I hope you have been enlightened by the information that you have received today. I hope you have been motivated by the information that you've received today. Look forward to receiving more information about the giving campaign, the engagement activities, as the new board works to bring those to you. Please support our athletics program as a last request. As they travel in your area, as President Williams indicated, I'll be asking the local chapters to do that. Finally, I look forward, my fellow alumni, to you answering the call and doing all that you can do and all that we can do to make Hampton University the best that it can be. Thank you for joining us. I look forward to working with you, and have a great day.